So finally, some updates related to Spider-Man Brand New Day are coming out that actually feel believable. This isn't just a simple street-level reset where Peter Parker goes back to living in a rented room and dealing with petty criminals. Instead, this story is going to be much bigger than that. This movie essentially becomes the first domino that clears the path for Avengers Doomsday and the entry of the X-Men into the MCU. Today, we're going to talk about the raw information that lifts Spider-Man from a street-level hero and places him right at the center of a multiversal war. The story begins with New York's shifting underworld. After Daredevil Born Again Season 2, when Wilson Fisk falls, a massive power vacuum is created. But Tombstone doesn't take over territories in the old-fashioned way. Instead, he creates a new market. His product is DODC, a mutant growth hormone. Comic book fans will remember that the concept of MGH has always existed in the Marvel Universe, where people consume mutant DNA to gain temporary powers. However, Tombstone's goal here isn't to create superheroes. He wants to forcibly activate the dormant X genes hidden within people's DNA. DODC is extremely brutal and unreliable. Most people die the moment they take it, while some survive with horrific mutations. But there's a tiny fraction that survives cleanly. Their X gene fully activates. Tombstone doesn't want thousands of mutants. He just needs enough people to create chaos, so the whole world becomes dependent on his supply. But to perfect this drug, Tombstone needs two impossible things. First, a naturally stable mutant, a child whose DNA is so strong that even when triggered, their body doesn't collapse. Second, traces of gamma radiation obtained from Hulk. This gamma radiation doesn't make someone powerful. Instead, it gives the cells enough time to survive violent genetic changes. This is where damage control enters the picture. They're already aware of this threat, which is why they're hunting those involved. New York has now become a testing ground, filled with proto-mutants, people who are mutants but also terrified. The DODC could emerge as a major antagonistic force in this movie. The government wants every superpowered individual under its control, and mutants are their first target. This same prosecution later becomes the core of the X-Men storyline. Doc's job isn't just safety, it's data collection. And they've discovered a dangerous truth. DODC isn't creating mutants, it's revealing them. Maybe Thanos' snap accelerated mutant evolution inside humans, and DODC is simply bringing their true form to the surface. At this point, a mutant enters the story who not only successfully transforms, but can also stabilize others' transformations and the drug itself. And this could be Sadie Sink's character. That's why not only Tombstone, but also the DODC is after her. Try to use her for their own benefit. Now, earlier rumors suggested that Sadie Sink was actually playing Jean Grey, and later she was referred to as Rachel Summers. But the one common thing in all of this is that her character is a mutant being hunted by both the DODC and Tombstone. For now, let's assume her character is Jean, just for the sake of the name, and move forward with the story. So guys, this Jean isn't alone. In fact, the DODC believes that Peter Parker himself is also a mutant, and they're hunting him as well. Beyond that, Peter's existence is seen as a glitch. The government and the DODC consider him an anonymous element that must be removed from the system. And this is where a parallel is drawn between Peter and Jean. Both are outcasts. One has had her gene awakened, turning her into a mutant, while the other's records have completely vanished, making him the biggest headache for the government. Here, Peter's character arc basically connects to that phase from the comics, where he gave up being a hero and started operating completely solo, becoming darker and more withdrawn. We could see a similar phase in Peter's life here. And that's when Frank Castle enters the story. The man himself, the Punisher, someone born out of darkness, who ultimately helps bring Peter back from the dark into the light. Peter is still young and has a lot of room to grow, unlike the Punisher, who can only spiral further into darkness and brutality. Frank despises Tombstone's drug trade because it has turned the streets of New York into hell. He takes it upon himself to protect Jean Grey. And to Frank, Jean isn't just a child being crushed by the system and gangsters. She reminds him of the child he lost, which is why he's determined to save her. The Punisher's involvement adds a dark, gritty, and violent edge to the movie, placing him like a wall between the forces of the DODC and Tombstone. This dynamic can strongly remind audiences of movies like Logan. This operation won't stay limited to New York. It may gradually spread globally, possibly reaching Madripoor, which has historically been the hub of shady mutant-related dealings. Now the question is, where does Spider-Man fit into all this? Peter Parker isn't just a random witness here. His multiversal history makes him a target. Peter's timelines are perfectly aligned, and when he meets Jean, a rare convergence occurs. The meeting of multiversal residue and evolutionary mutation creates an energy profile powerful enough to attract Avengers-level threats. By the end of Brand New Day, Peter doesn't achieve a massive victory. He simply survives. In the final moments of the movie, we see Peter swinging between New York's buildings, making everything feel normal again. But suddenly, the tone shifts, and the screen shows fragmented footage directly connected to Doomsday. We see Wakanda preparing for a global emergency due to fears of a mutant outbreak. The Fantastic Four are leaving their base because their reality has become unstable. Jean Grey's very existence confirms that mutants are real and that they're spreading. This terrifies the government, pushing them to try and control the situation. And if control fails, war is inevitable. By showing mutants in Spider-Man Brand New Day, audiences are either given a reintroduction or a first-time introduction to mutants, especially new viewers who know nothing about them. So they're encouraged to revisit the older X-Men movies and complete their homework before Doomsday arrives. Spider-Man becomes the first Avenger to unknowingly stand in the middle of the fire. In the comics, Brand New Day has always symbolized a new dawn, but in the MCU, its true meaning is the beginning of a night of apocalypse. Get ready, friends, because Spider-Man 4 isn't just a street-level movie. It's the first chapter of the MCU's biggest war. I'm extremely excited for this movie. Are you? Let us know in the comments. I know I didn't talk much about Hulk in this video, because every time Hulk enters the picture, the story's momentum shifts. Showing Hulk could create a strong fighting dynamic, with mutants becoming the primary target. But if it comes down to Hulk versus Spider-Man and the Punisher, brute force alone means Hulk would most likely win. That said, Hulk can still be subdued through strategy and intelligence, just like we saw in Avengers Age of Ultron. Even so, I don't think Hulk will have a very large role in this movie. Every Spider-Man film includes a big character, like Tony Stark, Doctor Strange, or Nick Fury, but their roles are usually limited and not overly impactful. The same will likely apply here. Hulk may just be there for spectacle or fan service. You never know. So guys, that's all for today. We'll meet again in a new video.